Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Engineer vs. Designer. Getting rid of all the fluff this episode, including Adam. Yeah, he's out of the country pursuing knowledge, wreaking havoc, and stopping off in Prague for a bite to eat. In the meantime, I'm manning the mic here to tell you about a chat we had with a pleasant chap from Boston, Massachusetts. Max Bogue is co-founder of Wobbleworks. He and fellow co-founder Peter Dillworth have created the 3Doodler, the world's first 3D printed pen. They have a fully funded Kickstarter project, and there's still a little time to get in on that. These guys know about bringing a product to market, and a good thing because at this point in time, they have over 24,000 people biting the fingernails in anticipation of receiving one of those 3Doodlers. We talked with Max about the project and exactly what it takes to ramp up a project on Kickstarter.
All right, Max, thanks so much for being on the show with us today. We have, first of all, a conundrum for you. If you could squeeze donut paste into your mouth hole, and that would give you the pectoral strength of William Shatner on steroids with zero effort. But in order to do so, you would have to bathe in a giant vat of jelly filling once a week. Would you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's actually a really easy question.
No qualms there.
No qualms there. I get to dive in jelly and get the powers of William Shatner on steroids.
Pectoral strength of William Shatner on steroids.
All right.
I love it. Okay, guys. Before we get into the gritty details here, explain to us here, Max, who you are and exactly where you came from.
So I'm, as I said, one of the co-founders of Wobbleworks. And Wobbleworks is an R&D company that's been operating for the last 2 years, mainly in the toy industry. We got started because I met my business partner, Peter Dillworth, when I was working for a toy company in Hong Kong, doing R&D and production in mainland China. And we took an item that he brought in as an invention and tried to make it factory ready, if you will. It failed. Because it came out to be $200, but we all became really good friends. And when I moved back to the United States after 4 years in Hong Kong, I got together with Dillworth and we started a company to make cool items.
Now, you guys got your start, I think, before we get into 3Doodler, which is really the reason that we found out about you. That all started with 3D printing, I think. And so tell us a little bit about your foundation in 3D printing. Where did that come from?
So, 3D printers we use on a daily basis to generate toy concepts and prototypes. And so we each have one. We love our 3D printers. We think they're some of the coolest inventions ever. And this whole 3Doodler thing started about a year ago when Peter Dillworth was watching his 3D printer print, as we do sometimes, because we love them that much. And it made a mistake in the process.
Right.
And he was kind of annoyed and said, "That's just wrong. I wish I could pick up the damn thing, fill in the hole, and then let it keep printing."
Right.
And he went, "Oh, I can." So the next day, we took apart one of the printers, and we took what's called the extruder head, or the part where the plastic comes out that's heated up. We took it off, and we added a little handle onto it, and we call it the teacup. And it worked terribly. But it worked, which was the important part. And so we said, maybe we have something here. So we started making all sorts of prototypes. And we went through about 4 or 5 prototypes in the space that we work in the Artisans Asylum, before we decided to go to Asia with it and look at manufacturing it.
All right. Well, now, backing up a little bit, for those of you who don't know, according straight from the 3Doodler Kickstarter campaign page, which you need to go check out quickly.
Yes, immediately.
The 3Doodler is the world's first and only 3D printing pen. Using ABS plastic, the material used by many 3D printers, 3Doodler draws in the air or on surfaces.
Mind-blowing.
It's compact and easy to use and requires no software or computers, even better. You just plug it into a power socket and can start drawing anything within minutes. Now, Max, at what point did you go...
Now, wait a minute. Wait, I'm jumping in here. I'm going to jump in here and interrupt the conversation to say, when I watch this video, and if you haven't watched this video, you have to go do it right now. Pause
Yeah.
this. Pause this episode. Go watch the Kickstarter campaign video because it's going to blow your mind. It starts out with somebody, I don't know whose hand it is, drawing the 3Doodler logo on a piece of paper, and then they stand it up. And it's
that's
in
me.
plastic. Okay, so it's Max. So you see Max's beautiful hand there. He's a great hand model, by the way. Very nice cuticles. So he draws this thing, he stands it up, and you're like, okay, that's kind of cute, right? He made a flat thing and he stood it up.
But then...
and then he draws a square, and then he pulls it straight
That's
up
Dillworth.
into 3D
at 20
space.
seconds. That's
The
when I...
moment when he does that, I went, what?
No,
Your world just stops
There's
right
some
there.
really great comments on the YouTube video when it first got out, where people were like, at first I was like, meh. And then 21 seconds in, I stopped the video, went to Kickstarter, and bought one.
What?
Yeah, I think about 20,000 people did the same thing.
I saw it. I picked up my laptop. I took it downstairs to my wife in the kitchen. I said, watch this. We hit that 21 second mark, and she goes, how do we get on this? How do we pay for this? Coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay, so we were going to ask.
Well, how did the Kickstarter campaign come around?
How'd you get started?
Let's go to that.
So, we've traditionally put our stuff through large toy companies, but the 3Doodler really isn't a toy. We're recommending it for ages 12 and up. There's all sorts of restrictions and whatnot with kids' toys, especially if they plug into the wall. And we really wanted to hit a more general audience and use this as a tool. It's got a hot metal tip, so it's similar to a soldering iron or a hot glue gun in that sense.
Right.
And we really like the idea of community that Kickstarter offered and presented to us. The fact that we could, actually develop a product with a bunch of people who had already said, I see what you're doing with this, I love it, now let's push it even further, was just very appealing to us.
Now, one of the coolest things about this product, in my opinion, is that it's not particularly high tech. This is...
It's not.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. But it seems like the fundamental technologies you're using here have been around since the 60s, right? I mean, this could have come along at any time. It just happened to come up because the aha moment comes from 3D printing. Is that about right?
Yes and no. I mean, the cooling system was really the most important part of it. Because before that, it just doesn't... You can't do the vertical stuff. You can't lift it off the paper as easily. But I mean, we're not at the same time. It's kind of a perfect storm, if you will. With 3D
I'm not saying
printing.
it's an easy engineering problem.
No,
That's not what I meant to say at all.
I understand that, but it's also there weren't spools of ABS plastic or PLA sitting around 60 years ago, and it's like everything has to be in the right place at the right time for something like this. And I think that's honestly what we found is we just happened to be in the right place at the right time when we figured this out.
Now, so tell me a little bit more about the development process. Were you guys the sole designers? Did you have other people working together?
No, we were the sole designers on this. We went through, as I said, about 5 prototypes before approaching a factory.
Only 5?
Only 5. That's a lot of prototypes to be tweaking and testing and then refining and then making a new one and then more tweaking and testing. And then we went to the factory with the latest one to start up to get them to investigate production and whatnot.
All right, so going to how the 3Doodler works a little bit. I'm sitting here at my desk as an engineer or designer in Adam's case, and I open up the box you shipped to me, which I hope will be very soon. I'm staring at the 3Doodler. Where do I start? It seems pretty simple from the video, actually, but what can I do as an engineer or designer with this, and what kind of things can I make?
So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can actually use the 3Doodler. It's a tool as well as it's a tool for the 21st century, I like to say. You can draw on flat surfaces and then peel the plastic, either ABS or PLA, off of the piece of paper that you're drawing on, stencils. And then join those pieces together using the 3Doodler. And that's how something like the Eiffel Tower was created in the video. Alternatively, if you're a very skilled artist, you can just freehand it and draw on the piece of paper and then peel it off. Or you can, if you're a great artist, you can draw on the piece of paper or anchor it to the paper, as I like to say.
Right.
And then simply lift up in the air.
Which is possibly the part that's the most kind of imagination inspiring for most people.
It is, definitely. And the fact that you can just draw around in the air. Dillworth is very good at writing his signature now in the air. We did a little house and stuff like that. The free-form ability to do that type of stuff is what I think is really mind-boggling and very different about this item.
And
it is.
You've teamed up with a lot of artists on Etsy, too, to sort of kick off the campaign. That seemed to build a lot of steam, help build a lot of steam there.
We really wanted to express that this was an item that artists could use. I mean, the fact that you don't have to use any software, there's no computer, and the entry level to it is so low. $75, $50 for the first 100.
Wow.
It's so low that it's accessible to everyone. Whereas, traditional 3D printers that have been around for 5-10 years now, not that long,
right.
But the lower end ones are $1,000 to $2,000. So this is really for everyone that's wanted a 3D printer but didn't want to spend the cost or didn't want to learn the software.
Well, yeah, didn't want to learn CAD
exactly.
and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, and the freehand nature of it is really amazing, and I think that it's absolutely appropriate that you went through the craft market on Etsy. I think that's a brilliant marketing move on your part, by the way.
Well, I
really
think
smart.
I think you could use it to patch items too.
So you can 3D print. You can use it to repair things as well, like if you break your phone case or something like that. You can use it to embellish things. Again, you could use your phone case and write your name on it. It'll work with most. It'll work on most surfaces as long as they're porous or there's something to catch onto.
Right.
So it'll work with metal if you sandpaper it a little bit. It'll work with wood, provided it's not shellacked. PLA tends to be a little stickier, a little gummier than the ABS, so it sticks to things slightly better.
Now, but this is a skill, right? It looks like drawing in 3D space would probably take some practice to be able to do that, right?
To draw well in 3D space takes some practice and some artistic ability. But to draw on the 2D stuff and then put it together to make something 3D requires no practice and no knowledge. It's just straight.
But what's the youngest? I mean, have you had a 12-year-old use this?
Oh yeah. Oh, the ostrich that you see in the video.
Oh yeah.
That was done by our next door neighbor at the Artisans Asylum, Echo, and that was literally the first time she'd play with that pen.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what an artist can do. Now
you're recommending it
right
for kids as young as 12. Have you had a 12-year-old use it?
I have.
And how did that go?
They loved it. I had to take it away, rather,
right.
And they didn't like that I had to take it away. So
now, you guys, this Kickstarter campaign was a phenomenal, meteoric success. I mean, you guys, I think you went for something like 30K or something tiny, very, very modest like that, and I don't even remember how much it is now, but it's 10 times that. You've
close
gone
to 2 million right now.
Okay,
it's almost
way more than 10
million.
times.
Yeah, or somewhere around there.
Almost,
huge.
1.95.
You guys just explosive. And so you guys are kind of internet celebrities overnight. That's got to be pretty cool. What has been the most exciting part of this? And, what's maybe been the most challenging part of it?
I think the most exciting part was definitely the first night. We launched it at midnight on the Tuesday. And we literally got to watch it go from London to Western Europe, go into Russia, go into Japan and Hong Kong, and then see it snap back to the East Coast of the United States and be like, oh my God, we hit our funding before we even reached the US.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were jumping up and down very quietly because my girlfriend was asleep in the next room. But that was possibly one of the highest moments, I think. By the time it hit 1 million, I was so tired and falling asleep that my girlfriend once again had to force me to stay awake to watch it because I was like, I want to sleep. But it was definitely exciting.
Oh, okay, and what's maybe on the other side of that? What's the most difficult part of all of this?
The amount of emails that we received and our commitment to answer every email.
Oh wow! And you're talking to us right now.
Yeah, and we tried to organize ourselves, but at the sheer pace that this whole thing kind of exploded, we were hopeful that it would do something similar like this in numbers. We just didn't expect the speed at which it happened.
Right.
I mean, you don't expect to make $1 million on Kickstarter in 2 days.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you almost sold out of all your rewards packages. You have like 21,000 backers, and there's like 2.5-3 weeks left in the campaign. So there's going to be a lot more. So it's going to be onto manufacturing pretty soon, unless you've already started. How did you grasp? I mean, did you think this was going to happen? How are you going to approach this?
So we had planned for the best and we'd planned for the worst. Mm-hmm. In the worst case scenario, if we'd only gotten the 30,000, I would have just taken the hit on the cost of things because we believe that much in the product. Because the 30,000 really only covered the tooling cost, so the basic setup for manufacturing.
Okay.
Now that we have exceeded our goals, we're definitely capable of ramping up to the larger numbers. We specifically chose the factory that we chose because they could do the small quantity, but moving up to 50, 100,000 units was well within their capabilities.
Right. Nice.
We staggered.
That's really smart.
Yeah, thank you. Years of working in manufacturing have taught me lessons about when to produce things and how to produce them.
Well, so that's the wild thing about Kickstarter, and the kind of problem I think that it presents is that it allows people that really have no idea what they're doing to get themselves into a lot of hot water, right? And you guys, man, fortunately for you, you invented something cool and you know how to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, we are unique. I feel like we're a very unique part of the Kickstarter community in the fact that we've had experience in manufacturing for a number of years, and that we're not, greenly coming in and being like, we bet we could make this, right? Because it does take a lot of effort and time to manufacture things. I think people don't quite get how difficult it is to go to any country, be it China or even the United States, and trying to do manufacturing and production. It's a lot of effort and time.
Well, and logistics.
Yeah, logistics, shipping, you have to have a fulfillment center. You have to have the product shipped from one country to another country. There's taxation, there's import, there's duty. It goes on and on and on and on. And
right,
just
right.
Are
you guys UL certified or anything like
yes,
that?
We're the Power Brick is UL certified, and we're getting FCC certification. So we're passing
completely prepared.
Completely prepared.
You guys have really worked this out.
We have timing schedules for the amount of time the device is supposed to work for QC. We've already got a team on the ground in Shenzhen that works for us and doesn't work for the factory to check on their backs. And I'll be spending 3 or 4 months in the factory during the production run, testing and making changes on the fly. Which I'm more than happy to do because I get to do this because people have purchased these things, which is great. We get a lot of questions like, what are you going to do with all the money? And it's like, build a lot of 3Doodlers.
Right.
These things cost money.
Yeah, it's not, you're not all of a sudden independently wealthy.
Exactly.
You've just got a business. You've got a very successful business. We got a very successful business
out of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are definitely shooting for retail, and we're hoping to do that in 2014, Q1. First quarter of 2014.
So we'll be able to pick these things up at Target. That's great. So at the time of this recording, like we said, close to $2 million in funding. As you're saying, you're going to build 3Doodlers with that money. It seems like one thing that's interesting about this product is that it was inspired by 3D printing.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if it maybe could help 3D printing as well. Right, I feel like it could also. Do you think that it sort of influenced the 3D? Yeah, right. Like make it more visible or something, more accessible.
As I said, a rising tide lifts all boats. I think there's a lot of people that have been interested in 3D printing but don't quite understand it.
Right.
So moving forward, after all the manufacturing, do you guys have plans to start like an online community for users to share templates?
Oh, absolutely.
Or, similar to MakerBot's Thingiverse?
Exactly. We want to share templates like crazy. We want users to put up templates. We've already started receiving templates from users. We got a Christmas tree ornament, and we've already started. We already made it for them, and we're gonna post it pretty soon. I couldn't tell you how ecstatic I was to receive that first one, and even happier to receive the second and third one. And then we already have like a bunch of templates that we want to put up. The Eiffel Tower. Everyone's seen. We have a Golden Gate Bridge, and we have a Ferris wheel that spins, as well as the individual carriages. Wobble back and forth. So, because you can make these things separately and then assemble it together using the 3Doodler, you can do amazing things.
That is amazing.
So
3D printing kind of took off, I think, in large part due to the open source movement. RepRap had a big impact. MakerBot, back when it was open source, was a big part of building that community and getting people excited about it. Do you see 3Doodler as kind of having any of that heritage? Do you expect people to mod these things and customize them in any way? Or is this kind of more, it needs to stay a button-down product as it is? Please don't change it or you might hurt yourself kind of thing.
I mean, obviously, I can't recommend people destroying their 3Doodlers, and if they hurt themselves, it's kind of their own fault. But of course, I encourage the idea of hacking it. And putting it in different scenarios. We'll be adding a little port so that you can have the buttons, so you can make so you can have a device to control the 3Doodler from a distance.
So it's going to have a USB port, or
so that you
just some.
No, it's just a 3-prong, because there's 2 buttons on it.
Nice.
But the idea is that then people could literally plug it into their CNC machine,
that
add a
is
little
wild.
software.
You put it on your 5-axis, put it on your 9-axis, milling arm, and you can actually program it to do some crazy thing over and over.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or, put it on one of those crazy robot arms, and then, the robot arm can 3Doodle for you, But it's not a 3D printer, it's a 3Doodling robot arm,
You guys have thought of it all, I think.
That is fantastic.
What's been your favorite personal favorite object made with the 3Doodler so far?
I was very partial to the Eiffel Tower for quite some time, just because that was a lot of labor of love on my own. But the bicycle that we just released, I think is amazing. And it has inspired me, because I didn't do it. Our chief doodler, Faraz, did it. And he inspired me to show him now how to make a bicycle that can have moving wheels. Because when I saw that, I went, oh man, you could do it. So we have moving wheels. And he's like, no way, you can do that. I'm
Is that on your website?
Wow.
Is that shown on the website?
The bike is on the website, I think, and on the update. And the Kickstarter update
now,
that we
some
just
college art kid is going to take one of these things and he's going to spend $1,000 on material and make some 10-foot tall figurative statue, right, that goes in the middle of campus.
Hope so. Yeah, please send us a photo.
Right.
Doodle of the week.
Doodle of the week, sure. Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal.
No, we definitely want to have competitions and stuff like that on the internet. And
have you thought about making a big one? Like where you the fire hose equivalent?
We have joked about, we've joked of making a gigantic 3Doodler so big you need 3 people to lift it. But we worry about the safety hazards on that one.
It shoots the plastic out. It just just push it out.
It's a silly string gun of
Look,
plastic.
Mom, I 3Doodled the side of the house. And Mom's like... Wow.
Oh, man. Really cool.
You know what? We're out of questions, but I don't want to stop talking to you because what you're doing is amazing. We are really not only impressed, but just kind of awed and excited by what you're doing. Thank you so much for making my week this week.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. I want to do a quick shout out to the Artisans Asylum, which is the hackerspace.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
okay, so you know about the hexapod and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know everyone who works on the hexapod.
We had those guys
project.
on last year, so.
Oh, cool. With Guy and all. Yeah, nice.
So Artisans Asylum.
But so, without hackerspaces like the Artisans Asylum, projects like the hexapod as well as the 3Doodler would never see the light of day. And it's really important to have these spaces.
Tell me, how do you think? What is it about Boston that makes it possible there? I know that there's a heavy student population, which helps. A lot of smart people, that helps. Yeah. I think there are a lot of demographic things that help Boston in general. But what can people around the country? I'm down in D.C. Josh is in Dallas. How do communities start to build these kinds of communities?
Yeah, there are maker spots everywhere, all over the country right now. And people can easily follow the models of pre-existing maker places and, help to create these communities because there are makers litter everywhere. And having a spot where makers can gather and have common tools that they can all use to reduce the cost, because, you know, buying a mill press or buying a CNC machine, these are expensive expenditures, and having a space where you can use these things is just hugely helpful. And to be honest, I think the way that you make these communities is you go out on the internet and you try and find enough people in your local community that believe as much as you do of how important hacker spaces are, and then you get a warehouse. I mean, the Artisans Asylum started above a garage, a muffler garage. It was a dank, dirty place, but it was fantastic.
It smelled great too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it smelled great. I'm sure, you know, it was fabulous smells. And, you know, there were no desks or cubicles or anything. It was just like open space. And then it got moved to its new location where it's a beautiful warehouse and whatnot, and it's expanded and expanded, and it's huge. But it takes time to build these things. But they're so worth the time and effort because they make wonderful things.
Absolutely. Well, Max, thank you so much for your time today. It's great to speak with you.
Oh, likewise. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you.
It's fun to talk to you guys.
And can I just say, wow, great interview, and you know, we hope you enjoyed the insight we were able to extract from the lobes of Mr. Max there. Now, this is one cool project, so be sure to check out their website at the3doodler.com, and definitely jump on that Kickstarter campaign if you haven't already. Who is this show edited by? Why, the masterful Simon Martin, of course. If you like the tunes you hear on EVD, be sure to check out the new Spotify playlist on SolidSmack Radio every Tuesday at solidsmack.com. We'll see you next week, and remember, it may be good fun to see engineers and designers fight to the death with poorly designed iPad cases, but sooner or later, bears will land from the sky. Angry bears. Next week on Engineer vs. Designer, Connor McCormick of MCore Technologies, 3D printing a paper? What? Catch it here on EngineerVsDesigner.com.
A production of EVD Media.